Hi, I'm Katie Ullman. I'm the Vice President of Marketing and Community with First Source Federal Credit Union. And a few years ago, we did some segments that were called Financial Fridays, where we went into the radio stations and helped the listeners just understand how to manage their money and bank smarter and live smarter. And that kind of moved into a little bit more hands-on engagement with calculators and articles and tools on our website that went out bi-weekly. And after a while, that segment started to fade away. And we're very excited to bring something similar back here with Love Living Local on their podcast to, again, just talk about different financial questions that our members and our community have and talk to our experts inside the credit union to share that knowledge and educate our community. So we're really happy to be here today. I have Bobby Nole with me, who was a financial service representative at First Source. He's now moved into our training department, has a ton of knowledge on loans, especially auto loans. And so Bobby's going to help us walk through today some of the questions that we've been getting, especially from our younger members of how do I afford a car? And there's so much that goes into it. I mean, the simple question of how can I afford a car? Well, where are you driving it to and from? And what kind of car are you looking for? And what are you willing to settle for? How much do you make? All those things. So Bobby's going to help us break it down today. Welcome, Bobby.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start from the beginning. Let's say I'm, maybe 18, 19 years old, and I am in need of my own vehicle. Tell me what I have to do to start.
The first starting point where I would have an idea of what you're looking for. Do you want to go new? Do you want to go used? If you do, I'd say start there. Looking at the newer vehicles, there are some pros, some cons. They are going to be a little bit more costlier. You will have, however, all the new technology, which people tend to really like. It is a little bit more to insure them each month. They'll have fewer miles. So just some pros and cons on those. With the used vehicles, it is going to be cheaper, which is always nice, especially when you are starting out. However, you could run into some issues. Say maybe you have an issue with the engine that you need to watch out for, or the transmission. There could be stuff like that. You aren't going to have maybe as much of the new technology. However, we're starting to kind of see now, even the 2019, 2020s, those have had some really nice upgrades. So it may not be the complete brand new stuff, but it still is very good. So I would certainly say to start there. But it is really smart to go and get a pre-approval at your financial institution. I would say that is probably the second point. Gives you an idea of where you can shop in terms of the range. It also gives you an idea of what your monthly payment will be. So what exactly is a pre-approval? So a pre-approval, you go into your financial institution, tell them that you're looking to find a vehicle, and with the pre-approval, they will give you the total amount that you are requesting. So, for example, say I go in, I'm looking at cars in the $20,000 to $25,000 range, and I get pre-approved for $25,000. I can now go look again, give or take some. I always say, I'd have somebody in my office. Don't limit yourself just to that $25,000. Say you find something for $26,000, $27,000. It'll probably be okay. I'm sure we can work something around it.
But that gives you a little bit of buying power, right?
Absolutely.
So when you go into the dealership, whether it's new or used or online or what have you, you already know what you're approved for. So when they, kind of try to haggle with you, you kind of have the upper hand. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, say they wanted to throw in some add-ons in there. That's great. But you could say, hey, I can't really go above, this amount.
Nice.
So could you bring the price of the car down a little bit? That's certainly an option for you. The biggest thing with the pre-approvals is, I would say, just to make sure that you make sure that while you are sticking to that range, it stays affordable for you. Affordability is a huge thing with the vehicles, especially considering that, unfortunately, the second you take it off the lot, it depreciates pretty quickly. So
yeah, that's a big percentage that happens right away.
I believe it's like 20 to 30% within the first year. So it's not something that, unfortunately, it doesn't hold its value, but everybody still needs a car. So I would certainly say to make sure that what you are buying is something that is going to be good for you, but also, still is affordable. You don't want to, grab something that, is going to break down or may give you a ton of issues. We also do want to make sure that you aren't buying something that's, too expensive, and it isn't something that's maintainable,
Do you ever
in your
deter
life.
our members when they come in and they say, I want this brand new, whatever, it's not even out yet, and you're looking at what they make and you're going, I don't think that's going to work.
I wouldn't say deter. Sometimes it's difficult, because I've had people in the office where they feel that, oh, this is the car that I want, and it's a really nice car. But, I remember I had one gentleman, he was still living at home. So he didn't have many other expenses. And I get that. I think, it makes sense. But do you want to live at home forever? It's maybe some people do.
It's talking them through that
Yeah.
process, right? And that's one of the things I think First Source does really well, right? Is that
Absolutely.
we do sit with our members and say, hey, not trying to deter you. This is the car of your dreams, but I want you to think
Yeah.
about all of these pieces that go with it and the rest of your sort of life trajectory.
Absolutely.
And is this really, what we want to do? Is this a smart way to manage our money?
Yeah. And unfortunately, life isn't, it's not all straight up. It ebbs and flows. It's kind
Yep.
of like the stock market. So
You got to be able to
unfortunately-
afford gas. You got to be able to
Exactly.
afford insurance. You got to
Yeah.
be able to afford just regular oil changes are not inexpensive,
Exactly.
So all those
And
pieces.
we'd see a lot of people, they weren't taking into account, the gas, the insurance, and insurance, especially for the newer vehicles, insurance is usually a bit more expensive. So that's another monthly expense you have to account for. So that's where we, especially in the offices, I like to get somebody in and have them do a budget worksheet. That's absolutely crucial. I would say really for autos, but really for any loan, just because it gives you an idea of what is going out each month. I remember I started to really drink a lot of energy drinks, and it's $3 every single time I go, but I'm going twice a day, and it's like, wow, this is like
It adds up.
$120 a month.
Man,
So I think it's really good just to do a budget worksheet, have an idea of what you're spending, and just be honest with yourself, because at the end of the day, it's you're spending that money. So if you don't want to say, oh, I think I'm only spending X amount of dollars, and you're really spending double that. So
this is the second time I've heard about a budget worksheet. This is clearly very important. On one of our earlier episodes, we were talking about budget worksheets. So
Yeah.
it sounds like for any loan or big purchase that you're trying to make, it really is important to look at what's coming in and what's going out.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
You can find any of those. A simple Google search of budget worksheet. You can find a ton of great stuff. I know with the credit union, we have a nice Excel spreadsheet that lists everything and actually does the math for you, which is really nice. But sometimes people don't like to do that, in front of a person. It may be personal to them, and by all means, we get that. So we have no issue printing you off one, and just that way you can fill it out manually and bring it back to us if you wanted to. But it just gives you again an idea
least you
of
know.
what you're spending, and maybe some areas you can save money.
Perfect. Tell me about 0% financing through like the dealership. Is that a real thing?
So it is. There are usually stipulations around that. In the cases that I've seen, typically the person has to have great, credit. There's certain credit scores that that offer goes out to, which is fine. But I'd say as somebody who's starting out as a first-time car buyer, you most likely may be younger, may not have as much credit history, and credit history is something that plays a part into the credit score. So just by that, you may not qualify for that 0% financing. What I will say is that if you are being offered that by a dealer, or if a dealership or a financial institution is offering you a lower interest rate, by all means take advantage of it. If you can save some money, I always say go for it. We can always refinance later on. So kind of speaking about refinancing, sometimes with the 0%, you'll see where it may be 0% for a year, 2 years, whatever.
It's always a catch.
Sudden, then all of a sudden the interest rate jacks up a little bit. So at that point, you absolutely can refinance with us, with another financial institution, whatever makes sense for you. But by all means, if you are being offered something like that,
That's a good way to look at it, right?
Yeah.
Get it at that 0% if you can, and then when that goes back up, you do your refi.
it may be a bit of a high or a lower term. So it could be like a 36, 48 month term. And usually this is attached with newer vehicles. So as we know, newer vehicles are usually more expensive. I think I could be completely wrong, but I think the average was around 40, 50K for a new vehicle. So if that's the case, over 36 to 48 months, that could be a pretty high monthly obligation. And we do have on our website loan calculators that you can put in the amount you're looking for, the term you wanted, And that gives you an idea of about what the monthly payment would be. So at the very least, if you are being offered that and you want to look into it, you can go right to our website. You don't have to be a member, and you can figure out just, again, an estimation of what your monthly payment might be. And again, from there, if it does work for you, if you do want to do that 0% financing, do it. And then if it does change, if that rate goes up, refinance somewhere and be in pretty good shape.
Perfect. What about extras like roadside assistance or extended warranty, loan protection? What of these are maybe good ideas and why?
Yeah. So one thing for the protection, I think gap protection is huge. So it stands for guaranteed asset protection. All that really is, so say I finance a vehicle for $10,000, and as soon as I take it off the lot, as we know, it depreciates. So say, God forbid, I'm in an accident and I still owe $9,000 on the car, and the insurance company is only willing to give me $6,000 for the vehicle. There's a $3,000 gap right there. That's where gap protection kicks in. So it'll actually cover that $3,000 difference. That way, when you go to buy another vehicle, you aren't rolling over $3,000 in negative equity. The big thing I've been seeing, especially with vehicles lately, people may get a new car for whatever reason. Maybe there is an accident. Maybe they just want to upgrade to something new, and they're rolling over a ton of negative equity. So that's essentially just money that you owe that isn't going toward the next car. So that's something to certainly watch out for. Getting the gap protection can protect you from getting any negative equity. With things like an extended warranty, I see them more as like a savings account for your vehicle.
That's a good way to look at it.
It is certainly a peace of mind. Things are expensive today. You may have your transmission go and it's $2,000, and then say you get that repaired, and then your engine blows and it's another however many $1,000. Stuff adds up very quickly. So with the extended warranty, it does give you that peace of mind that if something goes, I can get it repaired and I don't have to worry about that as much.
Nice.
And especially what we've been seeing with the newer cars is, everything kind of seems to be more connected than ever. So it's like if one thing goes, but then you got to go fix,
right. One chip right? Goes.
Exactly.
The whole car goes.
Exactly. So I would certainly say an extended warranty is something
beneficial.
to absolutely consider. There may be cases where it's not, and that's okay. But I would say to absolutely look into it, figure out what your options are.
And that gets just rolled into the loan if you're paying for that, or something separate?
Yes, it typically is rolled right into the loan. There are some financial institutions that do allow you to have it like separately, so you can have your auto loan and then like an auto protection loan, and that would be the extended warranty. Not every place offers that, so absolutely check with your financial institution. Definitely to have it rolled right in. You can get it right on your purchase offer.
Okay. And what if I am in need of a car and I don't necessarily qualify, or my credit isn't as good? Can I have help with that? What does that look like?
Absolutely. There are plenty of things that we will do right at the credit union to help you. One of my favorite appointments, I would say, were always the financial checkups. I always thought those were great. We get a member in the office, pull their credit, and then just go through everything to see, what's going on. Where could you possibly help yourself to clean up your credit score, your credit report, and improve your credit score. The unfortunate thing about credit is, the high end is 850, but not you don't start at an 850. You always start somewhere in the middle, and it can be difficult. Absolutely, it's a long process. It's not something that happens overnight. But certainly, by all means, over the months and years of positive repayment history, along with just good borrowing practices, you can absolutely see your credit score improve pretty drastically. I also always felt that, always feel, just because you have a lower credit score doesn't mean that you can't get a loan. There were plenty of times that we were able to get people approved, even though they may have a bit of a colorful credit history. That's okay. Things happen. We always say, bad things happen to good people. And, just because you don't have the best credit doesn't mean that a year down the line, it won't be better. So
work at it.
I would absolutely say, don't give up on it. I feel a ton of people just kind of, it's bad right now, forget it. I'm not going to worry about it. Clean things up that you can. It takes time, but don't give up on it.
And that's part of the reason we're here today, right? Is just
Absolutely.
to make sure that people are listening and understanding that it's Again, maybe a no today for a yes tomorrow,
Absolutely.
right? To work on those things.
Exactly.
And one of the cool things I think at First Source is that if you are 16, you can get a car with a cosigner and you can start to build your credit. We have teen auto loans. Not every place offers those. So that's a really great program if you have nothing and you need to start building that credit, and you can have cosigner with you. That's a trusted adult that has a credit score that can get approved. That's helpful in putting that, partially in your name to help build your own credit.
Absolutely. That's something I would certainly tell somebody to take advantage of. We have, I feel, plenty of options for people who, like, through all walks of life. Maybe they've bought 5 cars. Maybe this is their first time buying a car. There's plenty of options for people, and we're always here to help. Any questions we can ever answer, by all means, please ask them. We understand that, not everybody knows this stuff. I know most of it just because I work in it every day. So it's okay. It takes time to understand, but we're always here to help anybody.
Perfect. So our listeners can go to fsource.org. They can check our auto loans and they can make an appointment, or they can go ahead and apply right online and get started. But thank you so much. Is there anything else that you think we want to tell anybody about auto loans today? I
would say the biggest thing, just have fun with it. Whether it's your first time buying a car or, again, your 5th, it's still a major point in your life, and it's something that you should have fun with. So
I love this. Don't stress it. Have fun.
Again, there's always going to be little things that pop up, but that's okay. Take your time with it, enjoy it, have fun with the process, because it should be a fun experience. So yeah.
Great. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.